temporary memory. So if you are storing anything, right, a small amount of the data, right, so we should go for variable like in Java, how to store value. If you want to store a single value, then we should go for variable, right, like int a equal to 10. Got it, right? So I want to store only one value, then we will go for this variable. But if you are storing this value, how internally it is going to happen, right? So this is assigning the value inside this variable a. So a is like a small box. It is like when you are writing a equal to 10. Okay, simply if we will write a equal to 10, then what happened? Okay, so like I am going to write here int a equal to 10. Oh, okay. Sorry, I did not share my screen.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry, I forget to share. Okay, so when you are writing a equal to 10 like that, then if we will compile this, what happened? We are getting this error. Cannot find the symbol. Why? Because this is the variable name only, and you have given this value. There is nothing is compiler and JVM is not able to decide the type. But in Python, variable is we can store like that only. No need to write data type. But in Java, we have to write data type. So this data type, when you are writing this data type, so it will store from right to left here, right? In this, like it will store the value like that. Then we have to tell to JVM and compiler the type, which type. So integer type. Then JVM and the compiler is able to understand the type, and it will be stored inside this 10 value. Okay, it will point like that. Got it? It will store like that. So here we will go inside this Java. So int a equal to 10 and static p equal to 20. This variable is called class level variable. Okay, the variable which is created as a class level, not a method level. So this variable is called class level variable. Class var. Okay, this class level variable is also divided static and non-static. So this is your called non-static variable. Non-static variable. Okay, this variable is called static variable. Okay, the variable which is created inside this method or which is created inside this block. This is your non-static block. So next session I will discuss this non-static block. Okay, the next session we will discuss this block. Okay, so if you are creating any variable here, this is called your local variable, and the variable which is created inside this block or variable which is created inside this method. Okay, so this variable is called local variable. Now we have to understand this variable, where you can use all this type of the variable, what is the rules of the variable for creating a variable, and how to access this variable, right? So going to access this variable, right? A static. Okay, so a static variable, how to access this? So static, we already know a static member will get memory when class is loaded into the JVM. So this is your B. So how to access? We can access directly. Why? Because we have already memory. Static, not expected. Why this error is coming? System dot out of print ln. I think this is syntax of that. So modifiers, non-accessibility modifier will come first. Okay, so that's why. So now we are able to. So how to access this non-static directly inside this main method? By using class name. Sorry, by using class name. This is your coding standard. Okay, so by using class name we can access. So you can access by using the object also, same like method. So we can access 3 ways: directly, by using class name, and by using object. As per coding standard, this is recommended to use. Okay, so now we can access from 3 ways because we have already memory. So if you are giving the memory or if you are not giving. But a static, non-static, how to access? Non-static we can access, we cannot access directly. Why? Because non-static doesn't have unclosed. Non-static variable cannot be referenced from a static context. This is the compiler language. Context means we have this static field. Okay, so inside this static field we cannot access, or how to access by using the object. Got it, right? So this is the story of a static and non-static, how to create and how to access. What about of local variable? So local variable you can access directly, no need to create an object. But I have a question. This is your local variable, right? Local variable is static. If I will compile this, I am able to compile and I will to display also. My question is, how this variable is getting memory? But as a class level we have a non-static, and method level we have a also non-static variable. But in a method level variable or local variable, no need to create an object, but how this is getting the memory? You have any idea about that?
The main method itself is a static bit.
Okay. Okay, okay, I'm going to create one more method. Okay, public static void m. Okay, so same variable I'm going to call this. Okay, you told like because of a static method, right? Okay, I am removing this. Okay, so just I am calling this method. Now this is also local variable, and I am going to call this t.m1. Then how to get the memory? This. Right. Okay, so we'll discuss this. Okay, so actually local variable having the scope of within this method only. Okay, so when local variable get memory, when you create a method, when execution is started, that time method, local variable getting the memory. After execution is completed, this variable will automatically gone. Okay, so this is called your local variable. You cannot access this variable inside this block or inside this method. You can access this scope of local variable inside this. Can we create a static local variable as a static? We cannot create. Local variable cannot be a static. Illegal start of expression, right? So this is not possible. Only one modifier is applicable for local variable, that is called final. Okay, local variable, only one modifier is applicable for local variable, that is called final. Okay, so these are the basics of the variable. So I have documented this all the things. What is variable? Variable is a named memory location used to store data temporarily. During the program execution, we can modify the data. A variable can be created by using the data type. So we have two types of the data. Okay, I forget to discuss one more type, that is called, this is the variable hierarchy. Okay, so we have two types of the types of the data type. We can create two types of the variable. So actually hierarchy is going to start from primitive variable and referenced variable. So this is types of the variable. So based on the scope, we have a referenced or non-primitive variable, and based on the class, we have a two types of the variable. One is your class level variable and one is your method level variable. So class level we have a static and non-static. So just we will discuss regarding referenced variable. Okay, so referenced variable is nothing but this is called your reference variable. Okay, so let's see, we'll give you one example regarding this reference variable. This is your referenced variable. Okay, my net is working now. Yeah, so this is called your primitive variable and this is called your referenced variable. Okay, so one second, I'm not going to display. So this is your local variable, right? The variable which is created inside this method. But this variable is also called primitive variable. Primitive means using the data type. Non-primitive means using the referenced variable. We don't have a data type. Which type of the data type? Object type. Object means we have a which type of the object? test demo type, right? I told you, right, while creating an object. So why it is called referenced variable? So when you are using this class and class name, so class define the type. Your question is which type? Which type? It define object type. Your question is which object type? Okay, which object type? This class name. So whatever the object we are creating, this class keyword will convert into the data type, like class bank. This is your bank type, right? Class employee, which type? Employee type. Class student, which type? A student type, right? So when you are writing this like, okay, E, so which type? It is object type. Which object? Class object type, right? So this is called your referenced variable, right? Here data type is nothing but object type. Got it, right? So this is called your referenced variable. Okay, so creating an object, one circle will create. This one initialize an object, and this will hold the object, and this will decide the type. Which type? Test demo type. So holding this object is called your reference variable. This variable is called reference variable, and we have a data type. Okay, so this data type is called primitive type of the variable. We are getting 10, but if you will print this, okay, so if you will print this T1 and T2, you can see what the output will come. It is coming some code, some numbers. Actually what this number is, right? So when you are in the real time, right, when you are in the real time, we have a multiple objects. We have a multiple object, right? This multiple object having the different data, right? So what happen when you are creating any object? So I'll give you one more thing here. If you will print this, okay, 1 second. I'm giving the severity. If you will practice my session, you have a more confidence to work in the company, not a cracking the interview. Okay? Interview is not a big deal. So we have, you can see, if I am going to print this only this object, so we have a one number. Okay, you can see this number. So this number is nothing but this is called hash code. So object already have this one hash code, right? So 100 employees there, so 100 employee, how to differentiate? So while creating an object, I told you, right, a specific memory. So how to define the specific memory? So a specific memory means one object having the one hash code. Hash code is nothing but unique number, right? One in collection we have a concept called hashing algorithm. So hashing algorithm is nothing but hash code, because in the collection we are storing the object. So storing the object, then how to define, how to search, how to perform the search operation, how to identify the unique person or unique object. So JVM, inside this JVM they have developed some logic. So when you are creating an object, one unique number will generate. So this is the object, right? But how to access this? Then we have to create a referenced variable, right? So referenced variable is also one object. If we will print this reference variable, it is also one unique number, right, for accessing this. Got it, right? So this is called your referenced variable. Okay, so if we will compare this both, then what happens? It will compare the data, this x equal to, so double equal is a operator. Okay, so in the string chapter we will discuss more regarding this double equal operator. But what is this double equal operator? So double equal operator is only comparing, but what is it is comparing depend upon the which variable you are. Okay, here it is comparing this data, but here it is comparing this referenced variable. Got it, right? So if you will, this value will come true because we have a same data, but this value will become false because we have a different reference code, so a different hash code, right? So that's why the value is coming true and false. So this is the referenced variable. Okay, the variable of the primitive variable is a mathematical data based on its data type. The variable of the reference variable is its class object reference, right? So declaring a variable. So what is the syntax of the complete variable? Accessibility modifier. So accessibility modifier is optional and modifier is also optional. We will use according to data type. This is the problem. Okay, we have to use according to the requirement, right? So here here variable is not there. I can show you the complete variable. So we are using according to the requirement. That's just accessibility modifier and modifier. So these are the optional and mandatory. Just I have given the example of that. Public static int, right? This is your example. This is your reference variable example. Public static example e. Defining this variable. After that we are initializing this variable. This is the complete syntax of referenced variable. Okay, we can reassign this variable also, right? So variable name equal to value. So this is called a reassignment. Okay, so types of the variable based on the class scope, right? So based on the class scope, variable are divided into two types. We have a local variable or parameters. Okay, so let's see class level variable. So the variable created inside this, we are passing this parameter also. That is called parameterized variable. While creating a method, passing this parameter, right? This variable is called parameterized or local variable. The scope is inside this method only. Okay, so that thing I have mentioned here, local variable or parameters. Okay, so the variable created inside a method or block is called local variable. The variable created as a class level called class level variable. Only one modifier is allowed for local variable, that is called final. Okay, so same example I have given you before, so no need to go once. Okay, so we have a class level variable. Class level variable are divided into two types based on the type they are getting memory location. So how this all the variable is getting the memory? A static and non-static, right? So I already discussed regarding a static and non-static, how to get the memory. At the time of the class loading, a static variable will get memory. While creating an object, you will get the memory for non-static. So memory location for all three variables. So local variable get memory location when method is called, right? And their creation statement is executed. They get memory with respect to method, so they are called method variable. So local variable are automatically created when object is executing and are destroyed automatically after method execution is completed. So this is how this local variable is getting the memory. A static and non-static we already discussed, so no need to explain that. So they get memory with respect to object, so that this is called object variable or instance variable. Okay, so this non-static variable is called object variable or instance variable. Why? Because they get memory with respect to object. Why it is called class level variable? Because it is getting the memory when class is loaded into the JVM. That's why it is called class variable also. Okay, so this point I did not discuss. So class level are also called fields. Okay, so this is your example of a static variable, non-static variable and local variable. So local variable and its rule. So local variable having some rules. So local variable cannot be accessed from the another method because its scope restricted only within the method. Okay, so here when you are creating the local variable rules, so this variable we have created inside this method that is called local variable. If we will try to access outside this method, then compiler will cannot find the symbol. Why? Because the scope is inside this. So this is the first rule for the local variable. Local variable should not be accessed without initialization. So second rule for the local variable, only declaration is not allowed for local variable. You must be initialized. If you will not initialize, compiler will throw error. So we have more rules for the local variables. Okay, so this is the another rules. You cannot only provide the declaration inside this local variable. Okay, this one I have provided only declaration, but it won't be get, you will get error. So variable might be not have been initialized. So compiler is giving the message to you, might not have been initialized, right? And it is pointing this is the error. This is the second rule for the local variable. Local variable must be accessed only after creation statement, because the method is executing from sequential order from top to bottom. If we access local variable before creation statement, what I want to tell you, when you create a method, while you creating a local variable, so this local variable, how to access, we cannot, okay, this is the variable. You created this variable here and printing here, then what happened? You will get error. Why the error is coming? Method is executing the sequential order from top to bottom. So when you call this method, then compiler will go to search M1. So yeah, this, when the compiler will come this M1, then again it will go from like that. So when the control will come line number 4, then compiler is not able to find this A, because you have created before a statement, after a statement, print a statement, after print a statement. So you cannot do like that. Okay, so this is your rules of the local variable. Some more rules for variable. So when to stop your session, I will send you the notes and recording. I will send you tomorrow morning, yesterday also and today also. Okay guys, bye.